Hello and welcome back. And about 5 to 6 hours ago, I was at the Synology Solution exhibition in London. It was the branch chancellor, them saying what's the status quo, where they're at, and new and intended hardware and software launches happening in the next 3 to 6 or maybe even 12 months. And in this video, I'm going to cover everything I saw. I've got my silly little lanyard, I've got all of the notes that I made, I've got my transcription, I'm already working on the thing for NAS Compares, I've already posted something on Reddit, I'll link it below. And of course, at one point we are going to talk about hard drives, because I'm going to say straight away, fair play, they did address it very early doors in the presentation, but rather than mar it down in this video, I'm going to leave it till the end because it's actually a larger topic. But on the chapters on the bottom of the screen, if that's all you want to know about, you can skip ahead right now. But apart from that, let's crack on with all the new stuff that they talked about. So one thing that was really surprising for me as someone that's followed this brand for a long time, they didn't make a big song and dance of the fact that it's been 25 years that they've been knocking around. They mentioned it at the beginning of the presentation, talking about the development of the IT stack, the evolution of the position of the IT admin and the importance of storage, blah, blah, blah. But they didn't really go much more into them over the last 25 years, which kind of really surprised me. They're missing a trick there, really. Christ, Back to the Future does it every 5 years. But one thing he did talk about very early doors was the PAS system and their new grid station system. Two families that we've known about for a while, the grid station, the GS series, that is something we actually saw 2 years ago at this point in its earliest manifestation, and that is that 96 node scalable storage solution there. Now they're rolling out a new grid manager, which is going to be their cluster manager software that's obviously going to be dedicated to that system. Alongside that, the PAS, they gave us a little bit more information about that NVMe U.3 system. It is going to be a 48-bay rack-mounted solution alongside a 12-bay SATA equivalent. These are going to be active dual controller systems, and they're going to be utilizing 10 GBE out the gate and scalable network connectivity there across different kinds of network cards. They didn't really talk about if Synology are changing anything with regard to their own card lineup there. I'm kind of disappointed it didn't have 25G out the gate. There was plenty of mentions of it supporting 25 gig and 100 gig cards, and there was also mention on there of it having x16 slots and Gen 4 architecture across those PCIe upgrade slots, but no mention of what the default base connectivity of the PAS system is going to be. And that, again, extends down to the SATA one as well. 1,000 concurrent users there with over 1 million IOPS. The whole system there suggesting hitting over 2 million IOPS. And again, that's all good stuff. This is hardly an off-the-shelf component there. We are talking flash storage hitting the petabytes here. I get it. The sort of buyer this is intended towards isn't really going to be looking at, oh, it's 10 G, not for me. But still, I would have liked to have seen just how this system off the shelf is going to arrive. But both the grid station and the PAS system are going to arrive with their own operating system there, with a parallel active manager in the PAS system and grid station manager on the GS series there. We talked about these devices a lot. I'm not going to labour it anymore in this video, but we have already made videos about these systems during Computex. They'll be linked below. The brand also touched on that Synology support contract stuff very lightly, but from what I understand, this is still a service that's only really going to be rolled out in the US. It may already be available, and we're still yet to see it here in the UK. Next up, do you remember the Active Protect system, that dedicated backup appliance? Well, there wasn't much new with regard to that, but they did roll out that they are further integrating it with Active Backup. I spoke to a few people there about the life cycle of Active Backup, or Active Backup for Business, depending what you call it, ABB, and all the indications I saw there seem that they're not in any rush to kill off that application anytime soon. Another thing, they didn't mention DSM 8. They didn't even mention DSM 7.3, something that a few different people had told me was going to be there. And indeed, you can find indications online of early press releases that highlighted DSM 7.3 being shown at these events. So it must be something coming very, very soon. And I think we're going to see DSM 7.3 being announced before we see anything to do with DSM 8. Next up, something I had kind of mixed feelings about, and that was the Synology tiering. This is something, again, that they've talked about on and off in different press events and press releases over the past few months. This is Synology's new tiering system, where data is being moved to a better suited storage environment. Now, the bad news is this is not local. This isn't something that's apparently going to be deployed within a single device, something I think is madness, and we'll get onto why in a moment. But right now, what they're saying with the Synology tiering model is you end up with a centralized unit, again, be it a PAS, be it a grid station or a standard Synology NAS, and it will send data back and forth to the more better suited storage environments, which are based on SSD, based on flash, or more archival long-term hard drives, again like an HD 60 bay Synology NAS there. Again, this is something we've seen before, intelligent storage, intelligent tiering of storage as and when needed, but it's a bummer that we're not seeing this on a local level. A lot of users who have looked at something like a QNAP that has Qtier, which does this in system, where you can have hard drives, you can have SATA SSDs and M.2 NVMe's, and allowing the system to intelligently move data as it is more or less frequently accessed to the right storage level. Again, I like the Synology tiering on a multi-site level. It makes a lot of sense. I just wish that logic was extended to within a system, like even like this one, a 925 Plus, which has got M.2 and SATA hard drives. Right now, all you can use is caching, which is not the same thing. Caching duplicates data to a point and it assists with improved write performance. But when it comes to me wanting to know that certain files used in my VM, certain files used as my scratch disk are on the SSD, rather than the hard drives, and vice versa when I don't really access them over time, that would have been more beneficial. But still, Synology tiering is going to be a thing. Next up, the area that I think Synology is rolling out the most hardware moving forward, but again, it's not going to be for everyone, and that is in surveillance station. It's one of those less cool, not very exciting areas that is nonetheless quite useful, and also one of the main reasons a lot of users buy Synology NAS next to ABB. Now, the hot news here is, unsurprisingly, they're going down that AI route, more of that later on, but they're enhancing a lot more of that AI integration and AI assisted and centralized AI surveillance appliances there. Now, again, I think we can all agree that AI is definitely splitting the room, but when it comes to personal surveillance, having it within a centralized environment to reduce the amount of time you're spending looking at recordings, getting more tailored alerts, I think that is one of those areas where the bulk of users agree that AI is beneficial, at least in your own personal setups there. Now, they're rolling out two new DVA appliance models, the DVA 3000 and the DVA 7400. The DVA 3000 is a small 4-bay desktop model. It's going to arrive with support of up to 40 cameras and 6 simultaneous AI tasks. There was no real confirmation that I could see there of the hardware that this is going to feature. I don't think it's going to be a GPU equipped model. I think this is going to be a little bit more like that DVA 1622. But it was the rack-mounted model that interested me, because the number of users I've spoken to that have looked at Synology for surveillance and have got quite interested in the benefits of AI edge or centralized AI surveillance management to save a lot of time on those alerts and more, I've always been finding it very disappointing that the best GPU-assisted or graphics card-assisted model for surveillance Synology have is the DVA 3221, a 4-bay small model that costs an absolute fortune, but isn't as anywhere near as scalable as most of the solutions out there. Yes, you can bung on expansions, but the number of AI tasks and ultimately the amount of storage that you can use with the drives inside, it's limiting. This is a rack mount graphics card assisted AI surveillance appliance. It's a 12-bay, it's supporting up to 100 active camera feeds and 40 simultaneous AI tasks. That's a huge scale up. No doubt the scale up in price will be comparable as well. No word on camera licenses, no word on camera utility, and again, how much it's going to integrate with Synology's new Surveillance C2 appliance, more on that in a moment. And they've rolled out 3 new cameras. They've got an optical zoom camera there, and they've even got that fisheye camera rolled out as well. Something, again, we saw upwards of 2 years ago at this point. We're seeing a lot more innovation on those cameras from them. I still don't think they're going to close the gap with Unify, in my opinion, on that, but we've got another video coming up on that soon. But it is that Surveillance C2 with those cloud-managed cameras. One of the big problems was the integration of people using that C2 camera appliance model, so they could deploy the cameras without the NAS. And if they have an existing Synology NAS set up that has Surveillance Station and has on-BIV cameras or Synology cameras, they are bridging those platforms together a little bit more, so you'll be able to take advantage of both if you want. However, hold your horses, Trigger. Towards the end of the surveillance seminar, lots of people in the room were watching it, and they announced the Synology SD card. Yeah, that's right, yep. The Synology SD card. Now, I mean, read the room, Synology. Read the room. I get it. I completely understand. You've got cameras that have got local edge recording for a failover recovery. You've had surveillance products for a long time. A lot of these cameras, be they OnViv or your own, have got SD card slots. It makes a lot of sense. And much like the hard drives, you want to make recommendations. That's great. But it felt like I wouldn't have put it on an enormous screen that the Synology SD card is a thing. That felt like a boo-boo. And you could read the room and look around. I mean, there were chuckles. There was people looking at each other. I was surprised that made it on there. I'm not suggesting it shouldn't exist. I think it is probably a good idea to have a high endurance SD card. But marketing it in the same event where you've kind of had to address the hard drive business of late felt like a misstep. Getting awfully dark out there. Do you know what? Let's power on. Alongside the surveillance hardware, Synology also unveiled 3 new elements coming to Surveillance Station. So number 1 is going to be dynamic mosaic, which is a really fancy way of saying faces blurred out dynamically and live. So again, having surveillance footage with lots of people's faces in it, it's super annoying. This allows you to dynamically phase those out and blur them out live. On top of that, smoke detection. So we've already seen some heat sensors, noise sensors, motion tampering built into Surveillance Station and other cameras. Now they're saying they're going to be integrating smoke detection into Surveillance Station. So again, be that fires or something as simple as someone vaping when they shouldn't, I'm looking at you, Ed, then this is probably going to be quite useful to some deployments there. But the thing that interested me was integration of semantic video search. Now, clearly, this is going to be a DVA or at the very least an AI-assisted appliance, AI-assisted service. This is going to be a case of when you've got all of your recordings. Right now, you have got, depending on your Synology NAS of choice, people, faces, vehicles, slightly, rigid terms, something like license plates as well, the DVA, but this will allow you to do more dynamic searches about things where it will search within the field for red coats, or if you get a description of someone and you want your live camera feed, which hasn't been doing personal alerts, but at the very least has just been recording 24/7, and you're looking for someone in a specific coloured jacket, you're looking for someone driving a certain car, looking for certain, things that the human eye would pick up, but a camera feed wouldn't traditionally alert for. Semantic search is going to be assisting that. So again, you're going to need a powerful appliance. I don't think it's going to be additionally license-led. There was also talk about in the Synology C2 cloud service. So again, that is that cloud surveillance service where you don't use a NAS. A number of these AI bits and bobs are going to be integrated in that alongside that subscription service. So how much of that's going to make it into that, I'm not sure. We'll have to do a follow-up soon, and almost certainly a lot of these are going to be added into either just those new DVA hardware appliances or a newer update to Surveillance Station 9. So next, they return to the subject of AI, and half of the people left this video, but stick with me a little. We already talked about the integration of Synology's AI appliance in their collaboration suite when they rolled that out. We made a video about it a few weeks ago, but apparently they are rolling out that a little bit more into different apps and services. It is still going to be completely optional. It's still going to require an off-site third-party LLM, and you've got the confidentiality filters and a lot more of the sensitive information passing in between, so you can set it up within Synology's AI admin console to kind of effectively bleach confidential information out by your filters through that service. Again, it's not great. This is something they rolled out a couple of years ago. I think they're a little bit behind the trend on this, and I think they know that too, because towards the end of this particular seminar, they rolled out that they are now developing a GPU-assisted or graphics card-assisted dedicated appliance, and this presumably is what is either going to allow them to deploy a trusted AI or allow you to choose your AI of choice. I know a lot of users are looking at what Google are doing, and especially what Apple recently announced, and thinking, what's the point? And I think that was a sentiment shared by some people out there. But still, nonetheless, at least they're exploring this. And as long as they keep it optional and it doesn't draw away too much focus from development and overall innovation within the brand, I think it's not wholly bad. They are trying to appeal to that marketplace, but still, there's no denying the letters AI is not for everyone. On top of that, they are rolling out the updates to Synology Chat, an application that genuinely, and I'm going to say controversial opinion, I think is one of the most overlooked and underappreciated apps in the Synology lineup. Synology Chat is going to become Synology Chat Plus, alongside introducing Meets, a video conferencing platform. And they were touting it during the conference as they're one of the rare companies out there that have got a local instant messaging service built into their ecosystem. I think that's playful wording there, but still nonetheless, it is true. Synology Chat does allow you, for all of your connected users within your business, to communicate, comparable to the likes of WhatsApp, comparable to the likes of Microsoft Teams and Skype. Gone. But on top of that, introducing a video conferencing software alongside AI bots, not going to be for everyone, but introducing video conferencing software I think is a good idea. Not because I think it's going to draw everyone away from Microsoft Teams and Zoom anytime soon, but it's the idea that those recordings are going to be fully recorded in your system. So when people do communicate, be it with outside sources, with it being hosted by your system, you're going to be in control of the recordings rather than having confidential recordings on a third-party video conferencing software where they're still going to be cloud managed. Yes, you can download them, but still on this, I think it makes a lot of sense, and it's something we talked about a few years ago when the CC400W first got leaked. I thought that was actually going to be a camera used for this purpose. I was wrong, but at least you can see that Synology have gone down this road, and the indications that I saw about video conferencing turned out that I wasn't that crazy. So yeah, I'm not crazy, and I'm not totally against this. I look forward to making a video specifically about this very soon. And finally, let's talk about it. Let's talk about hard drives. Did you skip to this part of the video? Is this where the video has started for you? Hello and welcome to the video. But for the rest of you, to Synology's slight credit, they did address hard drives very early on in their presentation. Within the first 2 minutes, they addressed it and talked a little bit about the feedback, talked about where they're at, and unfortunately gave almost nothing away. They did highlight that they are still working with WD and Seagate to get drives verified, something we already know, that already has been outlined several times, but they had no intention of reversing their policy from what they told me there. More on that in a moment. I also spoke to lots of people at the event, lots of Synology staffers, and was given a myriad of different answers, most of which were off the record, alongside information and comments that I've been sent in the background of the channel, which has kind of led to 3 different outcomes, which right now are either being debated internally at length, or at least one of them is already happening, but there is some muddled up messaging in the pipeline. Before I get to that, a lot of users highlighted a video that came out on Synology's German website, where they were talking about announcing the event, the Synology 2025 Solutions event, and someone highlighted to them about the hard drive stuff, and someone from Synology Europe responded saying about they are still in discussions with those brands and that the process won't be completed overnight. Thank you for their patience. So I don't think we should get hyped about that comment at the moment. Later on in the same presentation, they had someone from Salon, which is a video editing, a huge video editing studio in the UK, and they were sort of talking to them there, and it was some semi-prepared answers, obviously a Q&A there for the stage. There's clearly been rehearsals, you know, we're all human. And they addressed the question there about using third-party hard drives, and even then, his answer, the bits of it that didn't feel forced, certainly felt like he was like, well, it's a pain and we're dealing with it at this time. But on the whole, it's good to have a unified solution, and then it kind of went down the party line.
So yeah, I love it. We're trying to utilise more in our machine room at the office. We've got loads of rack systems. I'm really keen to put some really bigger units in. You can give me a 7700 for free right, for doing this. In terms of the HCL stuff, the hard drive, like, I totally understand. At first, I was kind of with everyone going, "Oh my goodness, I'm being forced into using certain hard drives." Do you know what? My tune has changed now. Since you brought out the Plus range, that's made a big difference because the cost difference. I totally understand it from a support point of view because you're in an age now where people need stuff fixed really fast, and if they've got third-party drives, that's nothing you can't support that, and people will blame that. Or if you have everything from one place, if something goes wrong, that's that one place that you can go, right, this needs to fix it. So yeah, it's working for us now. and we're just managing a few of the new range. There's a few little things I might have beef with, but it's all minor, it's all sortable. That's good to hear.
On top of that, with them rolling out so many surveillance solutions at the moment, and we talked about a bunch of them in this video, we have to at least acknowledge Synology still doesn't have a surveillance class drive. They've got a surveillance class SD card now, my God, but they still don't have a surveillance class hard drive. A surveillance class hard drive is a drive that is better suited to heavy write than it is read. That is why Seagate and WD and more have released surveillance class hard drives, because you need drives that leverage more in that direction. And there was no confirmation I could get from anyone, whether these new surveillance solutions would only support Synology drives, or it would allow for surveillance class hard drives, because they are the better class drive to use in their systems. Synology's own marketing in the past with their surveillance solutions have also indicated this. If they start adding some drives, like some Seagates and some WDs, why those drives? Why all at the same time? So they're either going to have to be trickled, or they'll have to roll it into a DSM 7.3 update and say, yeah, we've added all these drives now. I would prefer it to be that they take the system of blocking drives from deployment and just allow me to use these drives, stick your little orange or red warnings. Fine, knock yourself out. I don't like that, but it's better than not being able to use them at all. Go for that option. If you want to reverse this PR nightmare you've had for the last 5-6 months, that's what you should do. Now, why have I got a problem with the DSM 7.3 adding these features as a methodology and going, we've listened to you, we've added that feature? My beef with it is there are a lot of sysadmins, a lot of integrators who are managing a lot of systems. Maybe they don't have a lot of rack mounts, but they have one central large rack mount and a bunch of 2s and 4s and 6s and 8-bay devices dotted around in different regions, towns, cities, countries. They do not want to roll out a DSM 7.3 update. They don't. They might have 2017-18 devices that are looking to upgrade it or thinking of looking at these, but they do not want to roll out DSM 7.3 updates across the network or have different levels of software. And that is notwithstanding the potential that DSM 7.3 could remove some features, reverse it, because people, I'm not going to say they're going to forgive you, but you're going to be able to at least change the tide of this. But this is pretty much everything we saw at the Synology 2025 Solutions event in London. Again, other stuff that was there is stuff that I've already covered at Computex, so I recommend you check that out and I'll link it below. And there's a full written article that goes into way more detail about this linked below. Let me know what you guys think. If you only stayed with the hard drive part of the video, let's talk about that. But maybe use the chapters, have a look at some of the other stuff. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.